Doctors warn, 7 nighttime mistakes seniors must avoid. Let me ask you something before we start. Have you ever woken up suddenly in the middle of the night? Heart pounding a little faster than normal. Maybe a strange pressure in your chest, or a tight feeling in your throat. And for a moment, you just sit there in the dark, thinking, that was weird. What was that? Most people shrug it off. They roll over, pull the blanket up, and tell themselves it's probably nothing. Just age, right? But here's the thing doctors across America have been quietly warning about for years now. The nighttime habits many seniors think are harmless are sometimes the exact habits that trigger health problems, while the body is supposed to be resting. And what makes it more concerning is how common these habits are. They're ordinary, everyday things. Late snacks, phone scrolling in bed, drinking water right before sleep, watching stressful news late into the night. Things millions of older adults do every evening without thinking twice about it. But according to sleep specialists, cardiologists, and geriatric doctors, nighttime is when the body performs its most important repair work. The heart slows down. The brain clears toxins. Hormones rebalance. Muscles recover. The immune system recalibrates. It's like a quiet overnight maintenance crew working inside you while the lights are off. But when certain habits interfere with that process, the repair work gets disrupted. And when that happens night after night after night, little issues can slowly turn into bigger ones. High blood pressure creeping upward, blood sugar fluctuating, memory getting foggier, the risk of falls increasing, sometimes even early warning signs of heart trouble appearing while no one is paying attention. One doctor in Boston once said something that really stuck with his patients. He told them, "The body whispers before it screams," meaning small signals often appear long before serious illness shows up. The challenge is recognizing those signals before they become emergencies. Now imagine a typical evening for many people over 60. Dinner finishes around 7. Maybe the television turns on. News headlines scroll across the screen. A few hours pass. Maybe some snacks appear. Chips, cookies, a slice of leftover pie. Nothing crazy. Just a little something while watching a show. Then around 10 or 11, the body starts feeling sleepy. But the phone is still glowing. Messages pop up. Social media keeps scrolling. Another video plays. Suddenly, midnight arrives, and the brain is still buzzing with stimulation. Eventually, the lights go off. But sleep doesn't come easily. The body shifts, turns, wakes again around 3 in the morning, needing the bathroom, maybe feeling restless or uncomfortable, maybe with a slight headache or dry mouth. Sound familiar? If it does, you're not alone. Millions of seniors describe the exact same routine. And yet many people assume poor sleep or nighttime discomfort is simply part of getting older. Doctors say that assumption isn't always true. In fact, a lot of nighttime issues come directly from habits that can be adjusted. Small adjustments, surprisingly powerful results. Take late-night eating, for example. Many seniors develop a habit of eating something heavy right before bed. Sometimes it's because dinner was early and hunger creeps back later. Sometimes it's comfort eating. A bowl of ice cream, maybe a sandwich, maybe leftovers from the fridge. It feels harmless. After all, food is food. But the digestive system after 60 slows down compared to younger years. That means when a heavy meal arrives late at night, the stomach and intestines stay busy working while the body should be entering deep sleep cycles. Blood pressure can increase slightly. Acid reflux becomes more likely. The heart may even work harder, pumping blood to support digestion. Some people wake up with burning in their chest or throat, not realizing it's nighttime reflux triggered by late eating. Others experience restless sleep without understanding the connection. One elderly gentleman once joked with his doctor, saying, "Doc, I don't know why I feel like I wrestled a bear all night. The doctor smiled and asked what he ate before bed. The answer? A double cheeseburger and fries around 10:30. They both laughed, but the lesson stuck. Our bodies are amazing machines, but timing matters more than we think. Then there's hydration. Now everyone knows water is essential for health, especially as people age. Dehydration can cause fatigue, dizziness, confusion. Doctors constantly remind older adults to drink enough fluids during the day. But here's the twist. Drinking large amounts of water right before sleep can actually cause nighttime problems. The bladder fills up during deep sleep stages, and suddenly the brain sends an urgent signal to wake up. Many seniors find themselves stumbling to the bathroom, half asleep at 2 or 3 in the morning. Sometimes they turn on lights, sometimes they don't. Balance can be unsteady when waking quickly from deep sleep. And unfortunately, hospitals report thousands of nighttime falls each year caused by these sudden bathroom trips. It's not the water itself that's the problem. It's the timing. Hydrating earlier in the evening allows the body to process fluids before sleep begins. Small change, big difference. Now let's talk about something modern life has introduced into bedrooms everywhere. Glowing screens. Smartphones, tablets, televisions, laptops. Technology keeps us connected, entertained, informed. But the brain was never designed to process bright artificial light late at night. When blue light from screens enters the eyes, it signals the brain that daytime is still happening. The hormone melatonin, which normally increases in darkness to trigger sleepiness, gets suppressed. That means even when someone lies down feeling tired, their brain remains partially alert. Sleep becomes lighter, shorter, more fragmented. Over time, this pattern can affect mood, memory, and overall health. Some sleep researchers describe it like trying to fall asleep under a street lamp. Your body wants darkness to initiate rest. When the brain stays stimulated too long, deep sleep phases shrink. And deep sleep is exactly when the body repairs tissues, strengthens immunity, and consolidates memory. Think of deep sleep like a nightly reset button for the brain. Interrupt that process often enough, and the system slowly becomes less efficient. Interestingly, many seniors say they use phones at night because it helps them relax or pass the time if they can't sleep. The irony is the phone itself may be part of the reason sleep becomes difficult in the first place. It's a modern paradox doctors see constantly. Technology meant to entertain sometimes quietly steals rest. But not all nighttime mistakes involve devices or food. Some involve something much simpler that people rarely question: the way they lie down to sleep. Sleep position affects breathing, circulation, and spinal alignment more than most people realize. For example, sleeping completely flat on the back can worsen snoring or sleep apnea for some individuals. Sleep apnea occurs when breathing repeatedly stops and starts during sleep. Oxygen levels dip briefly before the brain wakes the body enough to breathe again. Many people never remember these awakenings, yet they can happen dozens of times per hour. The result is fragmented sleep and strain on the cardiovascular system. Doctors often recommend slight elevation of the upper body or side sleeping positions to improve airflow. Small pillow adjustments sometimes produce surprisingly noticeable improvements in sleep quality. Yet many seniors continue sleeping in positions that unintentionally strain breathing simply because it's the habit they've always had. Habits can be powerful, even when they aren't helpful anymore. And that brings up another important nighttime factor doctors frequently discuss with older patients: medications. As people age, prescriptions often increase. Blood pressure pills, cholesterol medications, supplements, vitamins, medications for arthritis, diabetes, sleep, digestion. Each one has specific timing recommendations. Some should be taken in the morning, some with meals, some earlier in the evening. But when medications get taken too late at night, side effects can sometimes interfere with sleep. Diuretics, for instance, encourage the body to release excess fluid, which naturally leads to more frequent urination. Taking them close to bedtime practically guarantees a midnight bathroom visit. Certain blood pressure medications may cause dizziness if the body stands up suddenly from deep sleep. That's why pharmacists emphasize following timing instructions carefully. The schedule exists for a reason. Unfortunately, many people simply take all medications together at night because it feels convenient. Convenience, though, doesn't always equal safety. Doctors gently remind patients that proper timing protects the body from unnecessary stress during rest hours. Now pause for a moment and think about your own evening routine. Not the ideal version, the real one. What happens after dinner? Do lights stay bright late into the evening? Does the television play constant news updates? Do snacks appear around 10 or 11? Does the phone stay within arm's reach in bed? If you're nodding quietly right now, don't worry. You're human. These habits develop slowly over years, sometimes decades. The good news is that awareness alone already puts you ahead of most people. Because once someone notices their routine clearly, change becomes possible. And sometimes the smallest shifts create the biggest health benefits. Doctors often say the body loves rhythm. Regular sleep times, consistent lighting patterns, predictable routines that signal when activity should wind down. When those signals become stable, the brain responds by releasing the right hormones at the right time. Sleep arrives more naturally. Rest deepens. Morning energy improves. It's not magic. It's biology working the way it was designed. Yet in modern life, many of those signals have become blurred. Bright lights stay on until midnight. Screens glow inches from our eyes. Stressful information pours into the mind right before sleep. Then we expect the body to instantly power down, like flipping a switch. Unfortunately, the brain doesn't work that way. It needs a transition period, a gentle slowdown before entering restorative sleep cycles. Some seniors rediscover this truth almost accidentally. They start taking short evening walks after dinner. They dim lights earlier. They replace late television with light reading. They move the phone charger away from the bed. And within weeks, they notice something surprising. Sleep improves naturally without medication. Energy during the day increases. Mood stabilizes. Sometimes even blood pressure improves. Doctors see these transformations often enough that they now strongly encourage building simple, calming bedtime routines. Nothing complicated, just signals telling the brain the day is ending. In many ways, protecting sleep becomes one of the most valuable health strategies after 60, because quality sleep supports nearly every system in the body. The heart rests more efficiently. The brain processes memories. The immune system strengthens. Hormones regulating appetite stay balanced. Without proper sleep, even the best diet or exercise plan struggles to work effectively. That's why physicians sometimes describe sleep as the foundation of health, especially for older adults. When the foundation weakens, everything else becomes harder to maintain. Yet the opposite is also true. Strengthen the foundation, and many other aspects of health improve almost automatically. Now, before we continue exploring more nighttime habits doctors warn about, I'm curious about something. Which of these habits sounds most familiar to you so far? Late snacks, scrolling on the phone in bed, drinking lots of water right before sleep, or maybe watching intense news late at night. Everyone has at least one. Go ahead and think about it honestly. Awareness is the first step toward better sleep and better health. And sometimes the simple act of recognizing a habit already begins the process of changing it. Because once the mind notices something clearly, it rarely ignores it again. The body has a remarkable ability to heal and adapt when given the right conditions. even after 60, 70, or beyond. Age changes many things, but the capacity for improvement never completely disappears. That's something doctors witness every day in their patients who decide to adjust their routines. Small changes accumulate. Nights become calmer. Mornings become brighter. And the body quietly thanks them by functioning just a little better each day. And that's where the story really becomes interesting. Because once people start paying attention to those small nighttime habits, they begin noticing something else as well. Something doctors have talked about for years, but many people never truly connect with their own lives until someone explains it in plain language. And that is the powerful relationship between stress and the body during the quiet hours of the night. Because think about it for a second. The body might be lying down in a comfortable bed. The lights might be off. The room might even be silent. But if the mind is still racing with worries, arguments from earlier in the day, frightening news headlines, financial stress, or family concerns, the brain doesn't actually believe it's time to rest. Instead, it stays alert, almost like a guard standing watch. And when that happens, the body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, tiny chemical signals that tell the heart to beat a little faster, tell the muscles to stay tense, tell the brain to stay ready for action. And those signals were incredibly useful thousands of years ago, when humans had to stay alert for real dangers in the dark. But today, those same signals often get triggered by something as simple as watching intense news stories before bedtime or reading upsetting messages on a phone screen. And many seniors unknowingly fall into that pattern. They finish dinner, sit down with the television, and suddenly they are watching story after story about disasters, crime, political fights, economic problems. And the mind absorbs it all like a sponge, sometimes for 2 or 3 hours straight. And by the time they turn off the television, their mind is buzzing with tension, even though their body is tired. So they lie down expecting sleep to arrive quickly. But instead, they toss and turn, maybe staring at the ceiling, maybe replaying things they heard on the news, maybe worrying about problems they cannot solve in that moment. And eventually, they fall asleep, but the sleep is lighter, more fragile, more easily interrupted. And over time, that pattern quietly chips away at the quality of rest the body desperately needs. Doctors have even noticed that people who consume stressful media late at night often wake up more during the night and experience higher nighttime blood pressure levels, which means the heart never gets the deep, restful break it needs. And the strange part is many people never connect their sleep problems to what they were watching just an hour earlier. Because it feels normal, it feels routine. But the brain remembers everything it experiences before sleep. Almost like the last chapter of the day gets printed in bold letters across the mind before the lights go out. And that's why sleep specialists often recommend something surprisingly simple for seniors. They suggest creating what they call a calm hour before bedtime, a quiet stretch of time where the mind is allowed to slow down naturally. Maybe gentle music playing in the background, maybe reading a light book, maybe having a calm conversation with a spouse, or simply sitting quietly reflecting on the day. Nothing dramatic, nothing stimulating, just peaceful moments that tell the brain it's safe to power down. And when people try this consistently, they often report something wonderful happening. Sleep begins arriving earlier and deeper without medication. The body relaxes more easily. The mind stops racing as much. And suddenly mornings feel brighter, clearer, almost like someone cleaned the fog off the windows of the brain overnight. But there is another nighttime mistake doctors frequently see in seniors that rarely gets discussed openly. And that mistake is ignoring unusual symptoms that appear during the night. Because sometimes the body sends quiet warning signs while a person is sleeping. Small signals that something might not be quite right. Maybe a strange pressure in the chest that comes and goes. Maybe sudden sweating without explanation. maybe discomfort in the jaw or arm, maybe shortness of breath that feels unusual. And many seniors wake up noticing these sensations, but quickly dismiss them, telling themselves it's probably heartburn or just sleeping in a strange position. And sometimes they are right. Sometimes it is something harmless. But doctors repeatedly say that ignoring repeated nighttime symptoms can be dangerous because the early stages of heart attacks or strokes sometimes appear exactly this way. Quietly, subtly, almost like the body is whispering for attention before the problem grows louder. Emergency room physicians often say that many patients who arrive during the early morning hours actually felt warning signs hours earlier, but chose to wait until morning, hoping the feeling would disappear. And that's why doctors encourage seniors to listen carefully to their bodies. Not with fear, but with awareness, because the body is incredibly intelligent. It communicates constantly through sensations, discomforts, little signals that something deserves attention. And recognizing those signals early can make a tremendous difference in outcomes. Now at this point, you might be wondering something very natural. You might be thinking, all right, if these habits are so common and so risky, why do people keep doing them? And the honest answer is simple. Habits feel comfortable. Routines develop quietly over years and become automatic. People repeat the same behaviors every night without questioning them because nothing dramatic happens right away. The body tolerates these patterns for a long time before problems slowly begin appearing. And that's the tricky part about health. The consequences of small habits often arrive gradually, not instantly. So people assume the habits are harmless until one day they begin noticing fatigue, restless sleep, brain fog, or unexplained health changes. And by then, those habits have been deeply rooted in daily life for years. But here's the encouraging truth that doctors love sharing with older patients. The body remains incredibly adaptable even later in life. It responds quickly to positive changes, sometimes faster than people expect. When someone over 60 begins adjusting nighttime routines, the benefits often appear within weeks. Sleep becomes deeper, energy returns, mood improves. Even digestion and blood pressure sometimes stabilize. The human body is always trying to move toward balance when given the chance. It just needs the right environment to do its repair work. And nighttime is exactly when that repair work happens most effectively. Between the late evening hours and the early morning, the brain clears waste products that accumulate during the day. Scientists sometimes describe it like a nighttime cleaning crew sweeping through the brain's pathways, removing toxins and refreshing neural connections. Meanwhile, the heart rate slows, tissues repair microscopic damage, hormones regulating hunger and metabolism reset. The immune system strengthens its defenses. It's like a massive maintenance operation happening silently while a person sleeps. But if that sleep keeps getting interrupted by bright lights, stress, heavy meals, or frequent awakenings, the repair work gets rushed or incomplete. Imagine trying to repair a house while the lights keep turning on and off, and people keep interrupting the workers every few minutes. The job never gets finished properly, and that's exactly what happens inside the body when sleep is constantly disturbed. Which brings us to a simple but powerful realization many seniors discover later in life. Protecting sleep may actually be one of the most important health decisions a person can make. Not expensive treatments, not complicated diets, just good honest rest every night. A kind of deep restorative sleep the body was designed to experience. And achieving that kind of rest often starts with surprisingly small changes. Finishing dinner a little earlier, dimming the lights in the evening, keeping phones away from the bed, drinking most fluids earlier in the evening, creating a peaceful bedtime routine that signals the brain it's time to slow down. These changes sound almost too simple to matter. Yet doctors see the results again and again in their patients. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this story is that it reminds us something important about aging itself. Growing older does not mean losing control of health. It simply means paying closer attention to the signals the body sends, respecting its rhythms, supporting its needs a little more thoughtfully. Many seniors actually become healthier in their later years once they begin making these adjustments because they finally give their bodies the consistent care they deserve. And that leads to the final thought doctors often share with their patients. Something both comforting and empowering. Your nightly routine is like a conversation with your body. Every habit you repeat sends a message. Late snacks say keep working. Bright screens say stay awake. Stressful news says stay alert. But calm lighting, quiet moments, and healthy timing tell the body something very different. They say it's safe to rest, safe to repair, safe to recover. And when the body hears that message clearly, night after night, it responds in remarkable ways. Sleep deepens, energy improves, and the chances of nighttime health emergencies begin to shrink. So tonight, when the evening arrives and the day slowly winds down, pause for a moment and notice your routine, not with judgment, but with curiosity. Ask yourself what signals you are sending your body before sleep. And remember that even the smallest positive change can begin a powerful transformation, because the body never stops trying to heal itself as long as we give it the opportunity. And sometimes that opportunity begins with nothing more complicated than turning off a screen, dimming a light, taking a slow breath, and letting the night do what it was always meant to do: restore the body, calm the mind, and prepare you for another healthy morning ahead. So let me give the suggestion. If you are over 60 and want to protect your health during the night, begin by building a simple evening routine that supports your body's natural rhythm. Try finishing heavy meals at least 3 hours before bedtime so your digestive system can rest while you sleep. Drink most of your water earlier in the evening to avoid repeated nighttime awakenings. Reduce bright screens and stressful television before bed and replace them with calm activities like reading, light stretching, or quiet reflection. Pay attention to any unusual nighttime symptoms and never ignore warning signs your body might be sending. These small adjustments may seem simple, but when practiced consistently, they create the peaceful environment your heart, brain, and body need to repair themselves during the night. And that kind of rest can make a remarkable difference in how energetic, clear-minded, and healthy you feel each morning when the sun rises again.